Hello and welcome. Patricia Hewitt, thank you very much for speaking with us. So a year has passed since we last spoke to each other at the sidelines of the last British Business Group meet in Mumbai. How have things changed since then, and what are the most significant takeaways in your mind and from your vantage point?
Well, the big thing that has changed, of course, is the election here in India, and clearly the election of the Modi government. With the first ever overall majority in 30 years in India, that's already had a pretty positive effect on sentiment. We've seen a real uptick in growth. We've seen an increase in the amount of institutional investment coming into India and so on. Very encouraging indeed. And I think the direction that Prime Minister Modi has set out so clearly for development in India, development that will reach all Indians, that gives business, Indian business, British business, a huge degree of confidence in India's future. So that's very important. The other thing I would say is that even compared with the excellent event in Mumbai last year, I think what we're seeing this year here in Delhi is an even bigger and more energetic concentration of British and Indian business partnerships, and that's very exciting as well.
Right, and this is an interesting moment. Britain is the fastest growing economy within the EU. India has seen a revision in its growth figures by the IMF. So there seems to be some sort of convergence of two large growth economies.
It's very interesting looking at this week's report from the International Monetary Fund, and the IMF has absolutely confirmed that India and the United Kingdom are two real beacons of growth in a world that frankly doesn't have much growth. And I think that's another reason, on top of many other reasons, this issue of two growth economies. It's another reason why Britain and India are such natural partners, and why businesses in each country should look to businesses in the other country for partnerships, joint venture, and mutual benefit.
So is there a convergence of new themes or new investment intentions that will emerge thanks to the additional growth, if one may call it that we are seeing?
You know, the United Kingdom is already the number one foreign direct investor in India, and that's already helping to deliver jobs and growth, but in both countries. This is very much a two-way relationship. If I give you one example, I think it's very well known that an Indian company, Tata, is the largest manufacturing employer in Britain. It's much less well known that a British firm is the third largest corporate employer here in India. That's G4S, with 130,000 employees in 25 states. So we are very directly contributing to jobs and development in each other's countries. And I think as the government's reforms build up, as they continue to become even more welcome to foreign direct investment and so on, I think we will see many more British companies either increasing their existing investments in India or coming in as new investors and partners for India. And certainly our message to British business is that this is the time to look afresh at India, because, you know, if you're not in India, then you are missing out on one of the world's fastest growing and frankly most exciting and most innovative economies.
Right. As the chair of the UKIBC, you're always on an aggressive investment roadshow. Or many investment roadshows. Now, how much of this is translating to on-ground investment and collaborations, as the case may be from your point of view? And secondly, what are the kind of concerns that you have in terms of ensuring that all these the talk becomes action at some point?
Well, there's been a great deal of talk over the years, but the truth is British organisations, British firms are walking the walk. In fact, we maybe aren't talking the talk enough, because actually the scale of Britain's investment in India, I think, is often actually not recognised. But you know, if you take the field of skills and education, critical to India's future because of your very young demographics. So we've got many companies like Pearson, like Manipal City and Guild, which is a great partnership. We've got King's College, University College London, the Association of Colleges from our further education sector, and many, many smaller providers already here in India. Some of them have been here for many years, building the relationships they need and helping to train up India's young people. So again, I think we'll see more of that. And one reason why I'm so optimistic is that there's now much greater focus than there used to be on the different states and the different cities of India. You know, I would say 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, people, when they talked about India, really talked about Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, not much else. Now I think there's much more understanding that there are great opportunities in so many of the states. Vibrant Gujarat, we have a big event in Rajasthan coming up in January. West Bengal, we saw this week's investor meet in Madhya Pradesh. So there's much more of an understanding, and we at the UK-India Business Council are very much reinforcing that message that you need to think about which part of India, which state, which tier 2 or 3 cities are going to be right for the British business that's coming in for the first time. And there's much more help, I think, available now to bring those businesses in.
And what about what are your concerns on the on-ground challenges and hurdles? I mean, India has obviously got a lot of them, but what are the ones in your mind that could be looked at or addressed somewhat swiftly if one were to really keep all this talk converting into action?
We're already seeing action, I think, on just the ease of doing business. You know, India has been very low down the World Bank rankings in terms of ease of doing business. Clearly the new government wants to change that. They're already speeding up permits, making single windows more effective, putting much more online. I was hearing yesterday from one of the senior secretaries, there are a number of areas where the need for permission for a foreign investor has simply, or indeed for any investor, has simply been removed. And the investors haven't yet quite caught up with that. They're still applying for permits that they don't actually need. So I think more action, cutting the red tape and rolling out the red carpet, as I think the Prime Minister said, that will be hugely helpful. I think the changes on foreign direct investment in defence and aerospace, including the possibility of 100% where there's really high value technology transfer, that opens up the possibility of some of the British companies with exceptionally important intellectual property really indigenizing their manufacturing here. They want to do that, but of course they're not going to give away their most valuable asset, which is that intellectual property. And that will contribute mightily to Make in India. We already have firms like JCB who've been making in India for decades and indeed exporting from India now. But I think we want to see more of that. India certainly wants to see more of that.
And last question, I mean, what's the one thing that is in your agenda or list of unfinished items, I mean, if over the years, and that you would like to see in some ways come to fruition in the coming year?
We just want to see more and more British and Indian businesses doing business with each other. And as I always say to British businesses, now that we have our network of British business centres in India, we can offer a real home away from home for a British business that's looking to enter India, or expand in a different part of India. And that's hugely important. It's all about the relationships. And so being part of the network, the business network for Britain-India connectivity, that's what we can offer. And that's what speeds up and makes so much easier the whole process of doing business in India.
Ms. Hewitt, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.